you're walking away with probably just over $100,000 from that, which is a significant amount of money for someone at your level. Have you had any thought about where you want to take that money, how you want to set up your year? Because it's a great gift for you to actually set up your year and actually potentially plan things accordingly, knowing that you got some financial backing behind you. So have you thought about that and how that's going to help fund or structure your year moving forward into 2024? Excellent. Welcome to another episode of Going Pro, and today we have Adam Walton on, who has a current ranking in the tennis world of 176. He's played college at the University of Tennessee, where he won the 2021 NCAA championships in dubs. And in the singles, he lost in the semi-final to Ben Shelton 7-5 in the third set in a marathon match. So you're within just touching distance of that championship in the singles as well, which would have been epic. You had your first year on tour last year where you won a few futures, you won a challenger title in the US, and you now have a wild card into the Australian Open men's draw, which is testament to the hard work and the results that you've been getting. So congrats on that. Welcome. Thanks for coming on down today.
Yes, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about it.
Sweet, man. So I just want to really get stuck into your junior career. So how that kind of led into college. Were you at the pinnacle of Australian tennis growing up? Were you always around the mark? Were you a late bloomer? How did your game develop through your teens and to get you to a point to be at college?
Yeah, going back to the early days, it was, I have a brother who's a year and a half older, and I always sort of followed in his footsteps. We'd played a lot of different sports when we were young. The weekends were pretty crazy, actually. Like, we'd go from one sport to the next. I remember bringing cricket bats to rugby games and tennis balls and to different sports, and just, we'd hop around on a Saturday going to 3 different events. It was crazy. But no, I was never one of the best in my age in tennis. My brother was actually higher ranked for his age group. He's 1 year older, and we just played a lot of different sports. And then actually by my grade 10 or his grade 10, we both received scholarships down to Brisbane, because we actually are from a small town up in North Queensland called Home Hill. Okay, yeah. And so we then took the scholarship to Churchie, and we went to boarding school for 3 years, which was eye-opening, because this was my first time away from home, and very scary stuff as a 15-year-old who's never done any of that and lived in a small country town where everyone knows everyone. It is a change to move down to Brisbane, where it's a big city. How did that change you? So you would have grew up a lot in that time. For sure. Yeah, it would have been really interesting, like you said. Yeah, having to create new friends again, having to, almost start new pieces of your life again. I was a bit of a picky eater when I was back home, and then obviously going to boarding school, you have to toughen up because it's buffet style, and sometimes it's not all good. So I remember coming back, late from training most days, and you only get what's left from the buffet, and often it's left with all the terrible stuff. And so I learned to eat that, otherwise I'd starve. And you learn to grow up, be independent. The schooling was tough as well. So, staying on top of my academics as well as, trying to play tennis for Churchie was very tough, and something that I had to, get used to. And it did take time, for sure. Did you struggle in the early parts of that? Were you really missing home? Were you getting homesick? Were you kind of toying with the idea of wanting to go back home? Were there any points like that? Yeah, for sure. It wasn't easy at the start. I wasn't really, having to share everything. Like, you live in a cubicle that the roof doesn't go all the way to the ceiling, and you're always with other people, and so privacy becomes almost like you don't have any. Yeah. And then so it takes time, but looking back on it and going, I would do it all again. I remember by my grade 12, I loved it. You have such a close knit friend base, and every night after the homework session was done, we'd all go out and play touch football, and it's just something that the day boys could never do. We were literally playing touch football until 9 o'clock, and then we'd all come in and we'd all smash a Milo and milk, and then we'd hit the bed and we'd repeat it all the next day, go to school, I'd go to tennis, I'd do the homework, and then I would, play touch footy at night. And I loved that routine.
Yeah. Did it really form like a brotherhood with all of the boys that you're boarding with?
Yeah. You get close with a few of the boys, and a few of them in which I stay very close with today.
Yeah, nice. Did that really form and shape you into becoming a young man to really like handle a little bit more adversity and a bit more challenge as things got tougher on the tennis journey, for example?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that helped me was independence. Like, I remember when I started going out to the Queensland Tennis Centre, once I was training not at the school, I'd go to the Queensland Tennis Centre, but to do that I had to catch 2 different trains to get there and a train and a bus to get back at nighttime. So doing all that as a 16-year-old kid by yourself, you have to grow a bit of independence, and it's something that obviously at 14 when I wasn't there, I could never have seen my 16-year-old self doing that. Yeah,
that's amazing life skills. I think a lot more people and kids need to go through that to really learn some life skills. That would have been epic for you. How did that then lead to where you're going next? So as you're approaching and finishing year 12, was there clear pathways on where you wanted to go? Was college always the option for you? Were there different pathways? How did you land on the decision that you ended up making?
Yeah, so I remember graduating in 2016, really not knowing the next step of my life. I got a pretty decent OP score. ATAR score, I think it's called down here.
Yeah.
And so then I applied for university in Queensland and got accepted for engineering. And that was scheduled to start in the middle of February, in 2017. And so that's what I was going to do. And, I wasn't really considering any other pathway. I still liked my tennis. And then I remember the start of 2017, it was my last year in juniors. And my ITF rank was maybe just inside top 100, but nothing serious. And I remember just sort of like contemplating on the idea of college tennis. It hadn't, not many Australians my age group were going to go over at the time. So again, it was...
Why is that? Was there a stigma around college not being the right pathway at that point?
Yep, for sure. I still think it's getting better, but it's still not where it needs to be in Australia. I think it's almost a means to an end. I think that when I went, they really thought that there was no pathway for tennis after college. But I think now there's been a big shift through many examples of players, Ben Shelton, most recently, probably the biggest example. So I like the way that it's heading. But yeah, no, I throughout my last year in school and even in the start of 2017, I had a lot of offers from colleges, but ultimately from Australia, you have no idea which ones are good, which ones are not. And so I ended up picking Tennessee because there was 2 other Australians there at the time, and I knew them both, and I knew that I would be comfortable because at least I would know someone. So ultimately, that's probably why I leant towards Tennessee. And obviously, you go into a little bit of research, and I knew I wasn't going into a shit school. Like it's a big school. I saw the football program. There's 102,000 people in the stadium. It's bigger than MCG. Like I knew, this university was legit, and I went on a visit there and loved it, and started in August of 2017.
Amazing. Today's podcast sponsor is Electric Road Agency, who were formerly 4RT. Now, if you want a team of strategists, designers, producers, creators who drive stories to tell your advertising and marketing needs, these guys are the best in the business. They've been extremely influential for us at ATA. They've driven our media game forward to new levels that we never knew that were possible. And they've done it with countless brands, big, small, it doesn't matter what the size. They just love telling your story. So they specialize in health, wellness, fitness, tourism, construction, and they are just the best in the business in creating adaptive solutions to find how to tell your brand or how to discover your brand and tell that story. So highly, highly, highly recommend these guys. And if you want to get in touch, please go on electricroad.com.au or search the Instagram handle Electric Road Agency, and they will answer your email, your call, your DM, and they'll be in touch and they'll be able to tell your story very well. Amazing. And how did that start? Like, how did that journey start for you when you started to settle in? How was life there? How was the training? Were you uncomfortable when you started, or did you just feel like you slotted in really easily?
Yeah, so I thought that the transition to go to college was a lot easier than when I went to boarding school, because it was almost like I'd done it once.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so even though I was moving to the other side of the world, it was something that wasn't completely fresh. Like, I'd already started my life over almost 3 years ago when I moved to Brisbane. So, creating friends the second time around was a little easier. And, learning different cultures, learning different things was just a little bit easier because I was a little bit older, a little bit more mature, a little bit more independent. So I found the transition pretty good. And, the team was very welcoming. I got along with the teammates pretty well from the very get-go. So, yeah, I would say the transition into college was quite smooth.
How was the training? Like, were you guys really full on training twice a day in certain parts of the year? How was the gym program?
Yeah, they have certain restrictions. Like, I know the first week when you're there, they have like a thing called an 8-hour rule where you can only train, 8 hours with a coach on the court for the week, and then it gets progressively more. So it sort of, we kind of like weed into it a little bit, which was nice, because you're trying to get familiar with the classes and the routines of college life as well.
Sorry to butt in, but why is that? Why do they have that 8-hour rule?
It's just an NCAA rule. They have 8-hour weeks at the start and end of each semester.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you why, but they do.
Sure.
And so it just sort of gives guys, it gave me a bit of time to just settle in, go to my classes. We weren't hitting a ton when I got straight in, so had a bit of time to socialize and to meet new people from other sports. We were pretty close with the golf team. And then I remember, that's pretty much it.
Were you doing a lot of gym as well? What was the gym kind of program?
That was the other thing I was going to say. So the gym program that I was doing at the academy in Brisbane was very different to the program that we were doing in college. We had an ex-football gym coach as our tennis gym coach. And so he was very big on Olympic lifting, which is, I'm not fully supportive on. I preferred the program I was probably doing in Brisbane. And we butted heads a little bit at the start because I wasn't completely buying in, but I did buy in eventually. And, your body gets used to the certain way of lifting, and my body did get used to that eventually. And so, I was pretty injury free throughout my college career, thank God. But yeah, we're doing hang cleans, squats, bench press, a lot of stuff that probably you wouldn't see too often on tour as a tennis player.
100%, because I spoke to Alex Hines and he basically outlined everything that a professional tennis player needs to go to the highest level, and he's worked with a whole host of professional athletes and how he's done it and how he sees it, and he's done extensive research and has his own experience, and he really recommends staying away from a lot of that sort of stuff. So you said you were injury free, but were people getting injured, and how did it actually help? Do you feel like there was some transfer and crossover to on court, or?
Yeah. So, my first semester I put on 10 pounds but we were doing, bod pods where my fat was staying the same. I was the same fatness, but I was, getting 10 pounds of muscle on me. So I realized pretty quickly that, it's an easy way to put on muscle, but, like I said, I think my body adapted to that. And so therefore I stayed injury free. Can't say the same thing with everyone on our team. We had guys on the team with, a few niggles, but I'm not sure. I don't know enough about whether it's because of the lifting or because of the way they were training, or, injuries happen throughout.
Factors,
there's many factors, but
sorry, Bunny, the stuff with that sort of stuff, like with the Olympic lifting, if the form's rubbish, like the chance of you getting injured is pretty high.
Yeah, it is. But the one thing, our coach was pretty good that, if your form was pretty shit, he wouldn't up the weight too much.
Yeah.
So I know like a hang clean's a pretty like technical lift. And there's some guys on the team, it just takes a while to get the technique right. And yeah, he's pretty good with not upping the weight on the hang clean until, you've got good technique and you're getting under the bar really well.
So where do you sit now with your gym program? Like how do you like to structure it now that you're just doing your thing?
To this day, haven't done a hang clean since leaving college. I can tell you that much. But no, so my gym program's run by Tommy Babon at the academy. And
he used to be here in Adelaide.
Yep. So he does a good job of getting a lot of variety in my program, and there's a lot of explosive movements, which is I'm very I got a lot of slow twitch fibers. I like to think anyway. Like I can run all day, but trying to be more explosive on the court has been a goal of mine, and my gym program factors that accordingly.
Like what sort of things are you doing? Are you doing a bit more plyometrics? Are you doing how much weighted stuff are you doing?
Yeah, it's probably more plyometric work. A lot of box jumps, hops, a lot of explosive movements with less weight. I know, for example, like last week, I had the hex bar it didn't have too much weight, and just trying to jump as high as I could with holding that. So, just trying to build that explosive movement patterns.
So just kind of like tapping into areas where you feel like you don't do that well naturally.
Yeah.
Just try to get that natural fast fiber as much as you can out of your own body.
Yeah, for sure. I know and also Tommy does a good job. Like, for example, Tristan Schoolcate's another athlete he looks after. His program is not the same as mine. It's more tailored towards him. So Tommy does a good job. He looks at a bunch of data and also taps into the athletes themselves and, tailors the program specifically to each player's needs.
100%. Like you wouldn't have Dane Sweeney doing too much plyometric. That guy is just literally just a walking plyometric.
Yeah. Sweens is a good athlete.
Yeah, you could say that, but you have to be. He said it himself. It's like, well, if I'm not a good athlete at 5'6", then I got no chance.
Yeah, no, he's a good athlete.
So were there some peak experiences at college, like some real standout moments, things that you kind of look back and go, yeah, I really love that moment. That really stands out for me. Yeah.
So speaking on the tennis side of college, I remember my first 3-3 match, which basically is when the 3-3 happens when I'm the last person playing singles out of the 6 guys, and it's all on my racket, where if I win that match, our team wins. If I lose that match, our team loses. So it was probably 2 months into my college season, my first season, and we were playing a school, NC State, and it was at our house, and it came down to 3-3, and you talk about it in the locker room, being the 3-3 guy, and I lost 6-4, and I remember going to McDonald's by myself that afternoon or that night, and that was rock bottom. I'd never felt so gutted because I felt like I'd just let the entire team down. And I thought to myself, I do not want to ever let that happen again. And probably, yes, because of that experience, every time I was in a 3-3, which happened, I think 4 times, if I remember correctly, I never lost another one, which is a cool thing to say because, I had the first one which was heartbreaking, and then every time I was in the 3-3 moments. And then probably the biggest, my favorite memory at college is when my second year, we were playing Florida in the semifinals of the SEC tournament. I think they were 2 or 3 in the country. We were maybe around 10. So it was a big match. We were playing them at their place, and it got down to 3-3. And it was probably I think it was my 3rd time ever being in that situation. And it got to 6-5 to me. I'd just broken, and there's over 1,000 Florida Gator fans, and my coach just walks over and he says, "Enjoy this moment." That's all he said. He didn't give me any advice. He just said, "Enjoy the moment." And
that's great advice.
Holding that last service game was probably one of the best feelings I've had in college tennis, or even in tennis in general.
That college atmosphere is just amazing when you have that coming down to the final match and you've got home fans or away fans just losing it in your ear.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that atmosphere anywhere else.
No, and it's I know in pro tennis you get bigger crowds, but it's these crowds that they literally feel like they're on top of you, and they're clapping and shouting on double faults. The the respect factor about tennis sort of goes out the window because these fans don't know any better. And so I obviously love playing at home. And I remember my very last college match, we got over 1,000 on our outdoor facility, which was the biggest crowd at home that I'd played in front of. And, you know, I got a win in doubles and singles. And, you know, to end my Knoxville college like that was pretty cool.
That's amazing. I think that environment is so good for juniors to actually experience that. So then when they go to the tour, they feel like they can handle the heckling or when crowds are a little bit rowdy, because that's the crowds that you get on the tour are nothing like that. So any time that there is like a little bit of like just crowds losing it, I feel like people crumble. But if people who've gone to college, I feel like they're fine.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
Yeah. I remember, you know, I've played where it's come down to the doubles match. You know, obviously there's only 3 doubles matches, but I was the last doubles match on. It was 1-1. So the winner of my doubles match won the doubles point, and we were playing at Georgia in front of, I don't know, probably 2,500 people. And literally in between my first and second serve, they're stomping the floor of the stadium. And like, it is pretty loud. And you know, it's moments that like that you just won't forget. And you look back at them like now, a year and a bit on, and they're some of the memories that you take from college for sure.
That's amazing. Were there some things that you said to yourself in those moments when you had a 3-3 and you were trying to close out the match, they helped you get over the line to like block out all of it and just really zone into getting the job done? Yeah,
well, our coach didn't like to lose, so we were just trying to do our best to win, I guess. And however that was, we were very nervous. So, you know, it was probably some of the nervous moments on court have came from college tennis for sure.
But how do you handle yourself? So how do you like to handle yourself? Because everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah,
some people get fired up. Some people really just like get super zen.
Yeah.
What's your way of going about it?
I probably don't get as fired up as a lot of the guys on the team did. I'm pretty one-dimensional and try to stay in my lane a lot. And I think just, you know, really trying to focus in on myself and just stay calm is probably the biggest thing that helps me. If I feel my heart rate getting too high, I'll just go to the fence, tap the racket on the fence, just try to get the heart rate down. And I feel like, you know, if my heart rate can be down, then that's when I can play my freest tennis. Okay,
so that's your barometer. So you're really checking in with your heart rate, and you feel like you're racing. So you try to observe that and then get yourself in more of a calmer place before you execute or play any point.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. I want to go into your NCAA championship in doubles and then singles. So I think a good place to start is just talking about what that tournament is for people that might not know what the NCAA tournament is.
Yeah, so the NCAA tournament, they have at the end of the college season, it's the very last thing you will do, and they have a team event and an individual event. The team event is 64 schools. They will have 16 schools that will host, and there'll be 4 teams at that host region. And so if you get to host, then you'll host the first 2 rounds, and the winners from them regions then go to what's called the final site, which is the final 16. And then it's simply a bracket draw, and 16 goes into 8, it goes into the semis, into the finals, and then you have a team that wins. And so I know Tennessee, my last 2 years, we lost at the semifinal stage. So we won our host region, and then we went to the final site, won the round of 16, won the quarter, and then lost in the semis both my last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that's how the team tournament works. And then the very next day from when the team championship is crowned, the individuals start, which again is for singles, the top 64 individuals in the college system ranking. So not everyone, so some people, if your school didn't do so well and didn't make the final site, there'll be a lot of people that will come for individuals.
Yep.
And same in doubles.
How do you get ranked in that 64?
Yeah, so rankings work on a computer-based system. Couldn't tell you exactly how the algorithm works. Fall tournaments count as well, where fall tournaments are played individually, where they're just bracket draws, and you know you could even play your teammate in rare instances, because if you both keep advancing in a bracket draw. But then obviously the season counts. So if you're playing, a guy could be ranked, if I'm ranked 30 and I play a guy ranked 15 and I win, I'm obviously probably going to go up the following week in the rankings.
I see.
And vice versa. If the guy lost it from 15 to a guy 30, he's probably going to drop. Don't exactly know how the system works, but yeah, everyone gets ranked. And so basically, if you're in the top 64 by the end, or when the cut comes for the individual tournament, individual selection, then you get to play in that tournament. So just getting into that tournament is a tough thing to do. And then the way doubles is 32 teams, exact same system as the singles, where they'll pick the 32 highest ranked doubles teams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. So where were you sitting leading into that tournament in doubles and singles? So
in the 2021, the year that I won the doubles, I was sitting at 9 in singles. So it's actually tough because they have 1 through 8 get seeded accordingly throughout the draw in the bracket, and then they just simply have a 9 to 16 seed. And so if you're 16th or if you're 9th, you're just a 9 to 16 seed. And I remembered that 2021 year that I was 9 and I drew the top seed in my round of 16 bracket if I got there. And in doubles, myself and Pat Harper, we were 3rd going into that tournament.
So how did that tournament unfold in doubles and singles?
Yep. So this was in Orlando, Florida. And it was pretty hot. And we'd played, obviously, a few matches there in the team event. So my body was pretty cooked going into the tournament. It always is. If your team goes deep in the team event, it's pretty tough to try back it up in the individuals. But anyway, I played my first round. I got through it. It was a night match in singles. And then the next day, had to start my doubles as well. I had a really, really long match in singles. I think it was 6 and 5. I could be wrong. And that was to make the round of 16 to where my seed was. And then I also was able to win doubles. And, playing in this heat, it was like a 2.5 hour singles match. And then in the round of 16, I'm playing the top seed, Liam Draxel from Kentucky. And I remember going out that day pretty tired, but I started the match really well. I won the first set. He's the highest ranked guy in the country at the time. And I end up having match points on his serve at 5-4, 30-40 in the third set. And he hit 2 good serves. I didn't get the returns back, and he ultimately went on to win that match 7-5. And I was pretty gutted, but it actually turned into a blessing, which I'll get to in a minute, because my body was pretty spent. And so then I told Pat that afternoon, like, I'm struggling here. You're going to have to carry me. We're playing a Georgia Tech team who's quite good in doubles, and Pat played unbelievable that day. And we got through that doubles, and I remember putting the head on the pillow thinking, thank God I'm not in singles. Like, if we're going to have a shot at winning this doubles, I need to be fresh. And so then for the next 3 days, from quarter, semi, and final, just had doubles to worry about. And, me and Pat was playing some very good tennis, and I was just trying to play as stable as I could. And, we'd been not dropping any sets, and we got all the way through to the final. We played a Baylor team in the semis, Konstantin Frenzen and Sven Lahr. Frenzen's like 60 or so 70 in the world right now in doubles, so very good player. Got to the finals, and, we're playing a team from our conference, and we ended up getting that in a super tie break. We probably didn't play our best tennis. We were very nervous. Obviously, we're playing for a national championship, which is a big deal in college tennis, and we ended up getting that in a very close super tie break.
That's amazing. I love hearing about just you telling Pat, like, I need you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I've got nothing, and you're gonna have to carry, because I think people don't talk about that enough in doubles to say, like, hey, like, you're gonna have to take on this role today, and really knowing that, like, there's different roles in doubles, and sometimes someone's carrying the other person and you're just kind of along for the ride, and you got to kind of work with those momentum shifts and understand your partner and what they do good and what you do well and how you're feeling on the day and how you can use what you have available on that day.
Yeah. I mean, me and Pat, obviously he's from Brisbane as well. So obviously we're extremely close, and, he knows me on a personal level, and he knew that I was struggling. And, he's always went throughout even the season, the guy who's very active at the net. He's very, he's the one that I'm just trying to be as steady as I can. And he's the one that's, crossing on everything. And, guys don't want to see him at the net. And yeah, he did a very good job that day of making me not having to hit too many balls from the back. And he was on fire that day.
That's amazing. Do you get big crowds at the NCAA championship? What's that kind of like atmosphere like as a viewing perspective?
Yeah, so the team atmosphere, the team environment at the final site the crowds are quite good. It really also depends who's hosting the final site. So like in Orlando, for example, the crowds were bigger than when we went to Champaign, Illinois, just because it's a smaller place, I feel. So the crowds at the team aspect are quite good, but then in the individuals, honestly, not that much. The final rounds obviously have bigger crowds, but it's nothing like the team aspect of it. And the team matches we had at home, we'd always get bigger crowds than what the NCAA tournament has.
Yeah, sure. So how did the next year go? So that was the year that you made the semi, right?
So this was, so 2021 when we won the doubles was my second last year in college. Yeah. I lost in the round of 16. And then my last final year, I made singles and doubles again with Pat, and then I was actually the third seed going into the tournament. I'd had a pretty good singles year. Me and Pat weren't seeded in doubles. We weren't a top 8. They'd seed 8 guys, and I think we were sitting around 11 or 12 in the rankings, so we missed out on a seed. And then, I'd been playing pretty good singles, and I knew that, it wasn't going to be easy, but I definitely had a decent shot of doing better than what I did the previous year. And I probably should mention that getting to the round of 16 in singles or quarters in doubles, so you have to win 2 times, gets you All-American status, which is the highest status you can achieve in college tennis. So getting that the previous year in singles and doubles was very special.
That's amazing.
And so
that would have taken the pressure off in a way.
For sure.
Because you could just play free in your last year and just have a crack.
For sure, because, at Knoxville in the indoor facility, they have big banners of every player who's an All-American. And, my first couple of years in college, I didn't get it. I wasn't good enough. And, you kind of want to be one of them banners. And so, getting the banner. I remember when I won my singles, that long, tough 2-setter in the second round in Orlando to get All-American status, it was a big weight lifted off because I knew I was good enough, but I hadn't quite achieved it. And then to finally do it was pretty cool. And then, anyway, going back to my final year, I was seeded 3 in the singles, and I remember I won my first 2 rounds pretty comfortably. I was feeling good. I was more fresh than I was in Orlando. Mentally, physically, I knew what to expect. I'd been there before. Myself and Pat, we won our first round doubles, but then we actually lost to the eventual runners-up in the second round. So then it was just singles. Yeah,
almost would have been a blessing the other way this time for you to just go all in on singles.
So, really focused in on my singles. And I remember, I played Diallo in the quarterfinals. Oh, well, actually, I should wind up. I played a guy in the round of 16. It was a very windy day, and to get through to the quarters was really good. And then, obviously playing Diallo in the quarters, I knew it was going to be a battle. And again, it was another windy day in Illinois. And I think, I can't even remember. It was 1 set all. I don't know who won the first. But anyway, I just remember the third set. It was going back and forth. And we ended up getting to a tie break. And, we played a couple of long points. And then I was able to get him in the tie break and get to the semis. And I did that in front of, my girlfriend and my brother, and some of my mates from Brisbane were actually over for that last event, which was very, very special to do in front of them. And then, then it was 4 of us left. And then that's when you really start to think, wow, can I actually win this in singles? Because, not many people get to win an NCAA singles title. And playing Ben, I knew it was 1 versus 3. He was 1, I was 3. I knew it was going to be a battle. We'd played 3 times earlier in the season, so I knew what to expect, and it was raining that day, I remember, and I really wanted to play him outdoors. Obviously, he's got a huge game, so anything indoors is going to favor him probably slightly more than me. Not that I play bad indoors, but he's obviously trying to return that serve indoors is tough. Yep. And I remember, warm up, feeling good, and I got the first set in a tiebreak. Played some really good tennis, and I knew he was going to keep fighting. He's playing for a lot more than me. He's playing for the US Open main draw wildcard, so he was the only... him and his teammate, there was 2 Americans and 2 foreigners left in the draw, and they were both playing for that main draw US, so I knew, getting that first set in a tiebreak meant absolutely nothing. And then he gets a late break in the second. He got it 6-4, and, I was still playing good. I was in good spirits, and I was up a break 4-2 in the third, and the thing about college tennis is we play short deuce, we play lets, and, it can change pretty quickly. And I got broke. He held it to go 4-3, and I got broken at a short deuce point to go back to 4-all, and then we both held. And
so even at that level, the NCAA championship, you still play sudden death deuce?
Yep, still play sudden death. That's crazy. Which is, you're playing a lot of pressure points, that's for sure. And then, we both hold to go 5-all, and then you can actually look it up on YouTube. You could find it. It's at 5-5 deuce. I still remember it, and not for good reason. But he hits a serve, and he was serve volleying. I returned it back pretty short, and he actually falls over, and he hits a drop shot from sitting down, and he slipped over, and he's hit a drop shot winner from sitting down. That was to hold, and that would have been for my chance to serve it out. And then I ended up sitting down at 5-6, and I got broken the very next game to 30. And it was, I remember even the match point was a dead net tape, and it was pretty, to know that's how I went out was pretty tough at the time. But that's tennis. It happens. It's small margins.
It's almost like it was destiny for Ben that day with the on the ground drop shot, and then the dead net tape on Matchy.
Sure.
Just to nail it. Yeah, we got Dylan. Dylan's on YouTube trying to find it right now.
It might be on Twitter. If you go, you'd have to go back to Florida Gators Twitter back in 2022.
Florida Gators, Ben Shelton, NCAA championship.
Yeah. It'll be on there somewhere. It was pretty crazy.
Wow, that's heartbreaking.
It was.
Yeah.
I'm not really one to take losses. I take losses very well, but I knew that I was playing that whole tournament. That was my last ever college tournaments, and I didn't really. We'll get to it obviously later on, but I didn't really know what tennis I had left in me after college. So it could have been the very last match I played. I didn't really know.
That's huge. It's interesting you say that, because I want to really go into, you've had an amazing college experience. So what you just described there, I didn't know about, and just hearing all of that, not many people that go to college would have an experience that you've had at the pinnacle, at the highest level in college experience that you can have. So where was your mind at when all of that was said and done? Where were you thinking? Did you think that you were going in a certain direction? How did you actually take all that, reflect on what you just did in that 4 years that you were over there? And how did you decide where you were going to go next?
Yeah, so playing college tennis, the first couple of years was, I was getting better every year, which was always a bonus. But definitely, when I was 18, going into college was the right decision, because I would have been losing in qualification of futures events. It was clear that I wasn't ready. And then even my first couple of years, I didn't really believe that I could be playing pro tennis. I just didn't think that my game would hold up against the pros, and it probably wouldn't have my first couple of years. And then, as you start to climb the collegiate rankings, I started to grow more belief that, I can match it with some of the better players in college. And then when I was, creeping into the top 20 in the rankings, top 15, and then cracked the top 10, it was big achievements. And, my last year 2 years, you could say that, I was a well-established college player. I was one of the better ones in the country. And, you're always being hunted. Every week you're probably playing a guy ranked lower than you, and, learning to, try win. And it just instills belief when you're winning a lot of college matches. I played a lot of college matches, so I think all that winning sort of gave me belief that could do something in tennis.
For sure. Like, you're playing an insane amount of matches. I mean, just the fact that you get to play that many matches in a year would have been massive. And I don't think aspiring pros are playing enough matches, and you're not going to get that matches if you're just trying to go from future to future and losing first round of qualies and then maybe getting through into a main draw. It's just not enough matches.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, for me anyway, speaking, playing a lot of matches is the way that I was getting better. You're figuring out how to play pressure points. You're figuring out, just to build that match toughness. You can train all you want, but playing matches, the nerves are different. Everything's different. And so playing a lot of matches was the key for me.
Yeah. Was that like at the crux of why college was so important for you?
Yeah, I think college was just a good option for me because I wasn't ready to play pro tennis, and I didn't really know. I still loved my tennis, so I didn't really know what else I'd do. And to be able to get an education, and I got a undergrad and a graduate degree out of college tennis all for free. So, if I did that in Australia, I'd have a massive HECS debt. So I don't have any of that, which is cool.
That's such a good point. 100%. Yeah. So with all that, how did you decide that you were actually going to go on tour? Because was that even clear? Like, were you still clear that you were definitely going to go to the tour after that? Or how did you decide that was actually what you're going to do?
Yeah. So, I wasn't considering playing pro. I actually remember winning the doubles my second last year in college, and I didn't play. That was during COVID, 2021. I couldn't go back to Australia, and I just enjoyed an American summer. I didn't pick up a racket for 3 months. We were going to the lake a lot. We were just enjoying life as a 21-year-old. And then, picked it up again. I think them 3 months did me really good because I started to really, delve deeper into the game and liking it a lot more. And, had a really good last year in singles, and climbed the rankings to where I'd never been. I finished 2 in the college rankings behind Ben Shelton through the final rankings. So I knew, I was pretty good in the college system, and thought that I'd at least give it till the end of the year, which was 6 months of 2022, and just see how I would do in the futures, and see if I could climb my ranking anywhere to where I thought it could go to.
And how was it the next time going back into it? So you said before you went to college, you felt like you weren't ready and you were going to lose first round. So after all those experiences and like overcoming those pressure moments to win big matches, how did that then transfer when you went back into it for the second time?
Back into
like playing futures again after you finished college in that 6 months that you were just talking about?
Yeah, so I didn't play too many futures before going into college. I only just played locally in Brisbane and Toowoomba and stuff like that. And so it was all pretty new. I played a future in college where I actually made the final from qualies. I played like 9 matches. It was ridiculous, like 4 qualies matches and then all the way to the final. And, I knew that the top guys in college are pretty like they're probably around the 300, 350 rank-ish level.
Okay, so you had a bit of a guide.
So I had a bit of a guide where I thought that level was. And,
sure.
I knew that the top guys in college typically during the summer break do all right in the futures, with often the case where a college guy will win the future. So I knew that if I would play, that maybe that could be me.
Yeah, and you had that belief as well from those experiences to go into it.
Yeah, and sort of seeing that, other college players before me had done it, so I thought maybe I could do it.
Mm-hmm. And how did it unfold when you started to get into just like fully actually playing futures and then moving into challenges?
Well, it was kind of tough because I had no ranking. I come out of college, 0 ranking of 22 in 2022. And the very first tournament that I played, it was up at Notre Dame at the college facility there. I qualified and played the top seed first round, and I lost. And I was like, am I wasting my time here? Like, should I just get a normal job, or what should I do? And anyway, I said no. Let's keep going at it. And then I went to Dallas to try sign in for another future, because I'm still taking summer classes, because I wasn't quite finished my my graduate degree. So I was finishing that in August, and this was in the summer, so in June, July, where I was doing this. And then I went to Dallas to sign in, and I asked for a wild card into qualies, and they said no, because I'm from Australia. I said, I'm one of the highest. I finished 2 in the collegiate system. If you go on UTR, I'm actually the highest guy ranked in the entire main draw. And the guy said, yeah, we don't have a spot for you. So I went and signed in anyway, because I had a friend in Dallas where I could stay with. And no, he said no, and I didn't get into the draw. They filled the qualies draw with guys that I know I could beat, but I just had to chin it. And I ended up playing a UTR event where I played guys significantly lower. They were juniors, and I just had to play some matches that week. We were driving an hour each day to play, and I remember I played 6 matches for $400. It wasn't very good. And then the following week, there was another tournament near Dallas in Waco, where same thing. I asked if I could get a wild card into qualies, because I was going to be the highest UTR in the actual whole draw, and they said no. And I was like, okay, I'll go and sign in anyway, because we had a host family. And I ended up sneaking into qualies, and this is my second future since trying to play. And I qualify, and I won a round, and I was so happy just to get a point, because I'm like, at least I can hopefully get into some qualifying draws now, because getting into the draw was the hardest thing. And then, I won my second round. I won the quarter. Then I'm playing my teammate in the semis. It was actually 3 Tennessee guys and Lee 2 in the semis at Waco.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I'm playing one of my teammates, and the other teammate is playing Lee. And so I end up beating my teammate. Lee beats my other teammate, so I'm playing Lee in the final. And, I knew it was going to be tough against Lee, because he was the top seed, and I think he was ranked maybe just inside 300 at that time. And I ended up winning against Lee, and I won the second future I ever played. And that instilled obviously a lot of confidence. Winning the second one, you play post college. And then from there, because I won that, I actually got a special exempt into the main draw the following week in Cancun, Mexico, which wasn't too far from Texas. So I was like, okay, I've never been to Mexico. There was a person I knew down there who was playing them. So I was like, can I stay with you? Yes, you can stay with me. All right, I'll book a flight. So I booked a flight, flew from Dallas to Cancun. That was an experience. Never been to Mexico, and just doing things there was very, very different. They speak Spanish. I don't know any Spanish. So it was a big culture shock. And then I remember I got to the semi-final day of that first week in Cancun, and there was another event the following week. And basically I had to win that semi-final match to guarantee a spot that following week, because if I'd lost that, I wasn't going to be in the qualifying draw, and it was too late to start pre-qualies of the following week. Mm-hmm. And so that semi-final day, I was quite nervous, because I was like, I'm playing to stay an extra week in Cancun. Anyway, I ended up winning that one, and I won the final as well. So I won
back-to-back futures.
I won back-to-back futures, which, to start out like that was a big step going forward. And then I ended up playing one more week in Cancun. I lost in the semis and went back to Knoxville to take some exams before going back to Cancun for another 3 weeks, where I was able to do quite well. I won another one, finaled one, and semied the other. And so I'm already sitting at 500 after a few tournaments, and then I went back and played all the Australian futures.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What a journey.
Yeah.
And what a fast growth curve to get to 500.
Yeah, it was I got there pretty quick. I always felt though that I was kind of playing catch up, because I knew my level was a lot higher than my ranking at the time. And so I just thought that I had to try do so well at these futures to try catch up as quick as possible.
Yeah, the pressure would have been pretty full on though, because you kind of knew where you were, but you weren't there from a number perspective, as your ranking says, you didn't have one.
Yeah.
And imagine that you just maybe luck didn't go your way, or the guy just caught fire on the day and you lost to someone that just played like the match of their life, and you went a few more tournaments in a row without getting those points,
For sure.
you can see where that leads, and you potentially not here at 176
Yeah, for sure.
with the Australian Open wildcard.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't even because obviously the way the point system works, it's crucial to win the later rounds of matches. So even like if I'd just gone at the start, like quarter, semi, quarter, it's, you're not building that many points. So, you had to kind of, especially at a future level, you kind of have to win them to get any big ranking improvement.
So how did that then lead into the Australian, when you went to the Australian Future Series? So did your game transfer over here? Did you feel more pressure when you came to Australia? Did you feel like you were coming here with confidence? How did you go when you then transitioned to the side of the world after playing so much in America?
Yeah, I remember I came back to Brisbane, trained a week before heading up to Darwin. That was where the first futures were. And, I did all right. The first week I quartered. I lost to McCabe in the quarters, and then I actually played him again the very next week in the quarters and was able to get him that one, and then lost probably one of the longest Australian matches played to Dane Sweeney.
Yeah, we spoke about this.
Yeah, I think it was like 4.5. It was long. It was 3 tiebreakers, and I ended up losing it. But I was in good spirits. And
What an amazing match to be part of, though. 4.5 hours with that 10-minute kind of heat break or whatever you had.
Yeah, it was obviously clearly the longest match I'd ever played, and probably the longest match he's played. And it was a pretty good level. It was going back and forth. He had a chance to serve it out in the second set, and I stopped him. He had a couple of match points in the tiebreak in the second set. I ended up jagging that second set, and I kind of thought we were going into the locker room after 3 hours, and we just played 2 sets, and I kind of thought, man, he's got to break soon. Like he'd had all these match points, and I've just got the second set. Like maybe he's going to crumble, and no, he didn't. He was pretty fit, and he stayed out there, and I thought my engine was pretty good, so I knew I was probably going to be fine. And, both of our fitness levels were good enough to hold a good level in the third set. And the breaker was pretty close. I think I lost the third set 7-5 in the tiebreak. So, yeah, it was a good match.
That's what it's all about, though. Those matches are epic.
For sure. Me and Sweens often talk about that match. So, yeah, it was a good match.
Yeah, amazing. And how did that lead to your challenger win?
Yeah.
So that some time passed, you were slowly kind of chipping away. Obviously winning futures is amazing, but then going to that next level and winning a challenger, that's a big jump. That's another level of milestone there.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember receiving a wild card into qualifying of 2023 into the Aussie Open. I was ranked 440 to finish 2022, which was pretty good after playing 6 months. So then I received one into qualies. I was able to win around there, and my ranking at 400 in January, February of 2023 was still not good enough really to play challenges. So I was still playing the futures. I went back to the States. I played in Santo Domingo. Did okay there. Was slowly climbing my ranking into the 300s. And then I remember going back to Mexico in March and played in the altitude, and that was there were 3 challenges, and it was sort of like my first time playing challenges outside of the 2 in Australia. Didn't do any good. I lost in qualies and won, and lost first round. I think I won 1 round, so I lost in the second round. So I didn't do any good, and I didn't really, truly believe I was at that challenger level yet. And then played some more futures, was able to win another one.
Yep.
And then I played German club tennis in the middle of the year. My ranking was sitting, I think I just got it inside 300 at that time. So I was kind of getting to where I can play some challenges now. And then after the German club tennis, I went back to the States, which I was pretty keen on doing, getting out of Europe and playing in the States. And then my first challenger back in the States, I semi-finaled from qualifying.
That's big.
Which was huge because I'd never made a semi of a challenger. It was the most points I'd ever gotten from a single tournament.
Yeah.
I was just
gonna say, do you feel recharged when you go from like a team format to then back into playing for yourself? Because it seems like when you've gone and played team format for college and then gone and played for yourself, you've done well, and then you've done that again in German club tennis, and then you've had your best result after that. I
never really thought of it like that. I know my term at the German club tennis, it was okay. Like it was, I was alone. I didn't know anyone on my team. And I was pretty keen to get back to the States, back to people who I knew, and back to, almost normality.
Sure.
And, where I could drive to the tournaments. And so I remember driving to Little Rock in semi-final, and I just was like so glad to be back on hard courts in America. And then I carried that good form. I ended up 2 weeks later going to Puerto Rico and making a quarterfinal there. And then I played another future in Tulsa and was able to win that. And it was actually a pretty strong future because it had a lot of the college players play it. And so then after that, I'm sitting, 250. And then, just played some challenges and was doing, winning around here and there. And then the Carey, I played Carey. It was like my 7th event in a row. I wasn't actually sure I was going to play it. And talking about Carey, it was just, you just never know when it's your week. And I remember the last couple of weeks leading into that, my results weren't so good. I hadn't got past the second round in probably 6 weeks in the challenges. And I remember going to Carey. I play a guy who I ended up losing the semi-finals in Little Rock to first round. I had to play him first round. So I was like, all right, I'll see how I go. I lost to him in Little Rock. Nothing to lose. It's hard to beat the same person twice. I ended up beating him, played pretty well. And then second round, I played Billy Harris, and I come back from match points down in that match in the second. He had match points in the second set. I win that match 7-6 in the third, and I'd also lost a few 7-6 in the thirds in the past. And then that's when I was like, maybe it is my week. I've just won a 7-6 in the third. I've just saved match points. And then, quarterfinals, I had to play Rinky Hijikata. He was the second seed, and, I knew I was playing well, and I knew all the pressure was on him. He was the favorite. Played really well and was able to win that one as well. And, got to the semifinals. I was like, okay, well, this is the furthest I've ever been in a challenger, tied with Little Rock, and I'm playing Liam Brody. And like this challenge is pretty strong because it's right before New York. And so that's why all these players, like Liam Brody was playing, Rinks was playing. And so I'm playing Liam Brody. My history against left-handers wasn't too great, but I was playing good tennis. And I was able to beat him and make the final. And I thought just making a challenger final was pretty special. And then I play Alboran in the final and saved match points in that one as well. Saved 2 match points and won that 7-5 in the third set. And, I think when tennis is all said and done, like I will never forget that week because it was a pretty special week. Yeah.
Well, tell me more about the emotions and how that week unfolded for you, just in a mental, emotional space.
Yeah. I was taking each match as it came. I actually played doubles that week and I was just playing really, really good tennis. We made the final in doubles. We lost in the finals. I played with a former teammate. So I knew that I was playing some of my best tennis, and from an emotional standpoint, just, winning that final, it was, you almost get butterflies just reflecting back on it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Does that change you in any way, like from that experience? Because it's kind of like a peak experience that you would have had for yourself at that time.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still put my head on the pillow the same way.
Yeah.
I still do everything the same way. Like I just sort of believed that, I can keep climbing in the rankings. I actually, after that week, cracked the top 200, which was a huge goal of mine to try crack that. I know at the start of the year, I wanted to crack the top 250. And then when I hit that, I was like, all right, I want to get inside 230, which is the slams qualies. And so I hit that. And then, I didn't hit that, sorry. But then when I won Carey, I also hit that and top 200 because I jumped like 40 spots in the rankings, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you said you were playing some of your best tennis that week, what is Adam Walton's best tennis like? How would you describe what your play style is like? How you're hitting the ball? What sort of game style you have when you're playing your best tennis? Yeah,
so I'm a baseliner by nature, and I know conditions are big, and so it was very hot in Carey, and I think I deal with the heat a lot better than a lot of opponents that I play, and so we're playing in mid 30s every day, and the ball's quite lively, which is helping my baseline game because I'm getting more out of my shots. I'm getting more out of my serve. I'm getting more out of my strokes. So I thought that, I was able to, hit my forehand pretty well that week and serve at a pretty high first serve percentage. And, if you're doing them two things in tennis, tennis becomes a game of just, execution. And I was executing my serve and my forehand that week. And that's ultimately what led to me playing some good tennis.
And clarity of mind. Did you have clarity of mind and just decision making?
Yeah, for sure. You have, when you're feeling confident, it's amazing how the game kind of changes and how clear you are on the way you're trying to execute points. And, that week in particular, obviously very clear in the way I was trying to play tennis.
Amazing. Did that experience and kind of all of those successes that's starting to build for you, did it lead into marketing, sponsorship kind of situation for you? Are you getting offers? How's that world looking for you from just a whole bunch of success that you're starting to have?
Yeah, so I remember if we rewind, so I came out of college, and obviously when you're in college, you have no sponsorships or anything. I had a Babolat contract prior to college that I had to forego, obviously, when you go into college, because they just get you whatever you need. So I literally didn't even have a bag out of college, and I was carrying rackets and had a duffel bag. That's what I was doing at the Futures at the start. Anyway, Tennessee was able to provide me a bag that I took to Australia. And
cheers, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and then I remember even after the Australian Open, I was 4:30 and I had no Babolat contract, no clothing sponsorships, no nothing. And then I tried to get a Babolat deal after Australian Open, and they said no. And they said, you're not ranked high enough for your age group. You need to be higher ranked, all this. And I was like, okay. So I needed new rackets. And again, Tennessee was able to help me out. I told the coach, like, look, in my last year at college, I didn't get rackets. Like, can we kind of do it now? And he was very grateful. And he's like, yeah, we can do it. I was like, perfect. So I got some more rackets at the start of last year from them, which I used all the way up until I was able to get a Babolat contract, which came in the middle of this year. I was ranked, I reckon, around 250 before that came. And the coach at Tennessee was able to help me get that. He called the Babolat guy and said, like, look, he's 250 after a year. Like, can we help him out? And so I was with Babolat USA. And so then they helped me out. And, I was just playing in Lululemon clothing because, my girlfriend had got me a lot of Lululemon as gifts throughout my college. And, I'd just been building more Lululemon clothing, and I loved, obviously, Lululemon. Very comfortable to play in. So I was just playing in that, loved playing in that, but had no clothing deals or anything. And then after I won Carey, I talked to a couple of management agencies, end up signing with Top Notch, again, from the States, in which they were then searching for clothing sponsorships. And I told them that I didn't really want to sign anything until the year had been done. So I was just trialing a lot of different companies, and I ended up sticking with Lotto. So that's why I'm wearing Lotto to start the 24 season.
Amazing. So why did you choose Lotto?
So they just offered me probably the best deal out of all the offers on the table. They also, they provide shoes too, which I reckon I spent probably $2,000 to $2,500 US on shoes.
It's nuts, man. You're probably going through them every 3 weeks or so, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think I went through about 20 pairs last year.
It's crazy.
So there's like a lot of expenses with that sort of stuff. And, Lotto, Tristan used Lotto. I'd seen wore his shirt a couple of times when I needed a shirt. So I knew the clothing was okay. And I'd also trialed sample packages that they sent and was pretty comfortable in it. And at the end of the day, we sat down and thought that it would be best that I signed with them.
Amazing. That's crazy. What does a Babolat sponsorship look like for you? So at your level, 250, what sort of sponsorship does Babolat offer?
Yeah, so Babolat were pretty generous. They were very good. So I pretty much get whatever I need for the 2024 season, which is nice of them.
So how many rackets do you need?
So
now at your level,
yeah.
how many rackets do you go through? Do you need to change them often? Like, how does that look for someone at your level?
Still trying to figure that one out. In college, I typically were using, I'd get 5 or 6 rackets and I'd trade them out every year.
Yep.
And then that's why when it came to January, February this year, it was time for new rackets. And that's when I tried to, I told the coach, I was like, can you get me some rackets? Because I'm due. And he's like, yeah, I'll get you some rackets. And then, just hearing from other guys, they seem to be trading them out, every 4 or 5 months. So that's probably what I'm going to do is trade my rackets out. I know the rackets I've currently been using, for about 3 months. So I'll probably give them maybe another month or 2 before I'll switch them out and get some fresh frames.
Is it because the frame just starts to go a little bit dead that it just maybe like we're talking about a couple percent here? Like, does it affect the quality of the strike just in small amounts?
I guess. I honestly, I don't know. I was playing with 10-month-old frames and seemed to be doing okay.
Yep.
So I don't really notice much of a difference personally.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's just all the 1%ers now at this point that make a massive difference. And especially with now at your level, the new balls are just coming out all the time. So if the frame quality is as high as possible, and that's obviously going to make a little bit of difference.
Yeah. So through playing obviously challenges at the back end of last year with the ball change being 7-9, I've done a better job of switching out rackets. So typically depending on the conditions, but definitely every second ball change I'll change. If the conditions I think need it, I'll change every ball change to a fresh stringed racket. I just feel like, it helps a lot. But I know, obviously when I very first came out, I'd play till it broke because that's what I was doing. I didn't want to pay for a restring. So I'd just play till it snapped. And then if it snapped midpoint, I'd flip the racket and hope for the best.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So you would have like a few rackets that are freshly strung going into matches now? Yeah,
for sure. I remember, in my starting my days, I'd make sure I'd probably have 2 or 3 at fresh just in case for whatever reason. And now our minimum would be 4 fresh rackets before a match.
And so when you're touring and you're playing Challenger and now like ATP 250s, for example, is that part of being a player? Like, do you get them all sorted for free or are you paying the stringing service? How does that actually look?
So all of last year, I actually had a pro stringer.
Oh, cool. So you're doing that yourself?
Yeah, I was doing it myself. But
still hustles. I like that.
Yeah. You have a lot of time as a tennis player. So I felt, I didn't mind stringing the rackets and I was getting it down to about 18 minutes a racket.
Yeah.
So, if I could pump 3 out in an hour, I thought it was pretty good. And so obviously that's what I was doing last year, but this year probably not going to travel with the pro stringer. So I've just been handing them in, and no, they're not free. Every tournament charges a different rate. I know Canberra last week was 30 Australian. This week's 32 Australian. It'll vary week to week.
Yep. Yeah, fair enough. You've had a girlfriend for quite a while now. I want to talk a little bit about having a girlfriend, Rachel, who you met at college, right?
Yes.
Now, how is that on tour? Like, does she travel with you around America when you're playing? How is it? Are you doing a fair bit of long distance? How do you manage that? Do you think it helps you having someone in your corner that you're really close with? What's that like? How challenging is it?
Yeah, so we've been together for 5 years. So it's we trust each other, and we're 2 very independent people, I feel. So, I'd often have to go back for, breaks in Australia. I was back for a month or 2 months. So, we'd been away for that time in the past. It wasn't something completely new. And then, we sort of I didn't really know how this year was going to look in terms of how long at a time. That's probably the toughest part. I didn't really know how long it would be until I would get to see her next time, whether it was 1 month, 2 months. But I really think last year, maybe the longest was 2 months, because I based mainly out of the States. Geographically, it's better than Australia, and I have such a welcoming base in Knoxville. But no, she doesn't travel too often. She traveled to Australian Open last year, which was cool. She's here now for this Australian Open. She's going to go back as soon as I'm done there. She, she has 2 fitness businesses that she runs. So she's very busy in Knoxville herself, which is a good thing. I think it keeps her mind really fresh, and if we're having to be away from each other, at least she's got that on her mind to worry about. But yeah, well, I mean, it seems to work fine. It's been working fine.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it's good that like she has her thing, you have your thing,
yeah,
and then you come together and just like you're each other's biggest fans in a way, and just want to see each other do well. But like she's doing her thing too, which is awesome for her.
Yeah, I think if she wasn't doing anything, then that's when it can be. I don't think that would be healthy. I think she doesn't. Her ideal day is obviously not to spend all day at tennis. She likes to. She has to be doing all her work, and then she wants to go see some things, and she likes to keep busy for sure.
That's amazing. So where is this all leading you? So you've just got your AO wildcard. Did you get a lot of communication on that? Like, did you know did you have a feeling like that was coming? Or how did that process unfold?
Yeah, it's, I knew there was 5 wildcards, or well, I thought, just judging on previous years, that there's 5 Aussie wildcards. I didn't really think, it wasn't really on my radar until, the later parts of last year, where I'm like, okay, I'm one of the higher ranked Australians that are not in the main draw. So I knew that, that there was the possibility of getting one. And then I remember when I finished up my season, I was, I think, around the 4th highest ranked Australian that was out of the main draw. And I'm not saying that they do it on ranking, but I knew that obviously your ranking has a factor, right? So I know that I was definitely in the mix, but for sure to receive one, I didn't. It was such a good feeling. I still remember we'd come off me and Tristan had a 4.5 hour tennis session. It was early December preseason. And I just remember after such a hard session, it was an hour after that, I just showered and stretched and ice bathed. And Robbo, my coach, said, just come up, I want to tell you something. And I didn't actually know what it was. I was like, shit, am I in trouble? What's going on? And then he goes, you got one. And I still remember that was, great news, and, extremely grateful to have that opportunity, because, not many people get to have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gift.
Unreal. Very thankful for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how are you feeling going into it? Like it's kind of pressure, but no pressure in a way, because you don't really have much to lose in a way.
Yeah, I'm really glad that, I was one of the 3 of the 5 that found out early December, because I know 2 of the 5 just found out yesterday. So all of December I had preparation to know that, to try and get my body for a potential 5-setter. So I remember, the training sessions were quite long, and we played a few 5-set matches in practice just to get comfortable with, if it goes the distance, that my body can handle it. But yeah, in terms of excitement levels, obviously pretty high. I know my parents are going to fly down. My brother's going to fly down. They don't get to watch me often because, they have jobs and I play around the world. So often they're having to watch me from the live stream, or if they can, if they're busy, they're busy. So just to have them there will be pretty cool. My girlfriend will be there. So I'll have a bit of support there, and just looking to, try play some of the tennis that I'm capable of. And if I can play at that level, I'm giving myself the best chance to try come out with a win. And that's what I'm trying to achieve at the Open, is just, to try play my tennis that I know I'm capable of. And that obviously will give me the best chance to try win.
Amazing. Hopefully some really brutal hot conditions for you out there, which you love, so you can just get through and play the tennis that and watch the other guys suffer. Yeah,
I'm really hoping that I can play, on an outdoor court, 35 degrees. And
super windy as well.
Super windy, super tough conditions, and, just get the crowd behind me would be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be an amazing feeling, having the crowd behind you like that. Just the adrenaline will be pumping.
Yeah, I know. I played qualies this year, which was obviously the first time I'd ever played a slam, and the crowd at qualies, there was maybe 100 people. It was not very many. Like, I know the main draw just from watching YouTube highlights that it's just another level.
That's sick. So obviously, like with the AO, huge financial aid from that. I mean, you're walking away with probably just over 100 grand from that, which is a significant amount of money for someone at your level. Have you had any thought about where you want to take that money, how you want to set up your year? Because it's a great gift for you to actually set up your year and actually potentially plan things accordingly, knowing that you got some financial backing behind you. So have you thought about that and how that's going to help fund or structure your year moving forward into 2024?
Yeah, no, haven't really thought too much about it. I know that like last year's qualifying, even it helped immensely because for the first half of the year I was actually losing money most weeks. I was playing futures and obviously having to pay for ACOM there, and then when I was playing challenges I wasn't doing too great anyways, so I wasn't really making any money. And then I remember last year, it was my first year on tour, I was just trying to play as many weeks as I could because I thought if I don't play I don't get paid. And so at least with this year I can kind of plan my schedule a little bit better, knowing that I don't actually have to play every week, and trying to maximize my game at the weeks that I do play is probably the biggest thing in 24.
Did you walk away last year with a profit at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's still, even with that starting point, it's like so tough.
Yeah, but I mean, so okay, I walked away with a profit, but there's a lot of things that I don't have. Like I don't pay for rent because I don't have it anywhere. Like when I go to Brisbane, I stay with my brother. I didn't have, them expenses. I didn't have an electricity bill. I didn't have any of these sort of just common bills that a normal person would have. So, if you factor all them in, obviously that would cut into a big cost because I called myself a floater because I was just floating from place to place where, not many people have that ability just to float. Yeah,
100%. And then also, you're not paying for a full-time coach on the road for physio. Like then once you get to the next level, it's almost like you get to the next level, but the expenses are at the complete next level.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously myself and Tristan are very grateful to be part of the NTA where a coach is covered under them. So, a coach's expense is the number one expense a tennis player has because you got to pay for their flights, their accommodation, their food, their everything, and plus give them a salary. So, but at the end of the day, if you can play these bigger matches, the slams, if that coach can help you win just that one match at that big level, it can be, you can get it all back plus some. So, having a coach on tour, I think is huge. Like trying to do it by yourself is very, very tough.
So how often is someone from the NTA actually traveling with you and Tristan? Does that mean that you and Tristan are always traveling together because of that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so me and Tristan play a pretty similar schedule. We're similarly ranked, so I don't exactly know how it will look this year. I'm sure it's going to vary with how many weeks Robbo can do, because obviously he has a family too. He's got a life. He can't just travel with us every week, but we're still trying to work all that out. I'm not actually sure.
So how many weeks did he travel with you last year though?
So last year was a little sticky because I was paired with Rinky Hijikata, and he was much higher ranked. So our tournament calendars didn't really align. And so for the first half of the year, I was kind of on my own a little bit. And then the second half, I shared a coach a little bit more with sometimes with if Rinky was at a different tournament, then Sharky, who was looking after me, and Rinky would come with us, or Tristan's coach Robbo would join in, and then now it's me and Tristan with Robbo.
Yep. Is that important for you this year though, to have a coach and potentially like a physio on board with you? Like what's the priority for you to have in your team for this year potentially?
Yeah, I think having Robbo there for most of my matches this year is going to be huge. I just think that all the coaches they can see the game that perhaps the player can't. Like they can see areas of the match that you might not feel during the match. Like they might have been able to see certain weaknesses on opponents that you didn't quite pick up on. so that you'll know for next time, or perhaps certain strengths that you were doing that you didn't really know you were doing until they told you after the match. Like say if your kicker wide was working really well, but you didn't pick up on that it actually was getting you a lot more free points than what you thought it was giving you. So I think stuff like that is where, having the coach can really help. And then obviously the one big thing that I find is that you have someone to get emotional with. You have someone to fist pump to. You have someone to, chat to at the change of ends. You go to the towel. I'll always put my towel right beside where Robbo's sitting so I can, chat. I was like, what's your thoughts? Like, this guy's just serving crazy. Like, any thoughts on what I can do on the return? Because
that's become legal now, right?
Yeah.
Across all levels?
Yeah. I'm not sure about the future level, but
challenger onwards, yes.
You can, so long as you're within your near your coach, and you can talk to them for that 5 seconds that you're wiping your face with the towel.
That's an absolute game changer.
Sure.
And just sharing that energy with someone that you can lock eyes with and just go on that battle with them.
And I think also if you have that rule in place and you're not utilizing it, and your opponent has a coach and you don't, like, you're just losing out. Like, they're getting
2v1, baby.
Literally 2v1. Like, you're getting it's tough 2v1.
No, that makes a massive difference. I'm hearing you loud and clear. That's amazing. So any goals for this year? Anything that's really on your mind of where you want to take this fresh year at a career high ranking with a wild card into the AO? You got
so
the world at your oyster right now.
I don't really want to put it. I've often thought about it, and my girlfriend, she likes to do like New Year's resolutions, and so I remember in Canberra last year we did one, and my goal was top 250. And this year, after playing a year, I was like, I'm not going to come up with a ranking goal because I don't want to put that pressure on myself. I was just like, whatever it is at December is what it'll be. And the sky's the limit, and who knows? Hopefully, I think I'm playing some pretty good tennis, and I think so long as I can see improvements in my game, and I just want to keep improving and trying to be the best person I can be, then wherever my ranking sits at the end of the year is where it'll sit. Yeah,
I like the thinking. If it's not a ranking goal or like real outcome focus, is there like a intent or something that you sort of type of energy or type of intention that you really want to bring into the year?
Yeah, probably professionalism. I think that I can be more professional in off-court stuff. I think I can eat better. I think I can stretch better. I think I can do warm-ups better. I think I can do a lot of things better. But I also give myself a little bit of slack last year because it was my first year doing it. I didn't know. When you're playing college tennis, you do the warm-ups that they do. You do the cool-downs that they do. You just do everything that the college does. And then, then you're all out by yourself. So I was sort of learning it from scratch last year. And you definitely see it more at the challenger level of how professional the guys are compared to the futures. I found, especially when guys lose, that they're straight on the practice court the following day. So I feel like probably professionalism is the biggest thing I'm looking for in 24.
That's amazing. I think if you just keep looking into that, that's going to be, that's really going to help you out this year.
Yeah.
Man, just got to give you a lot of credit. I've absolutely loved this conversation. You're a really likable guy. I haven't met you until today. So just all the stories, how you've come from really like the long way and really matured slowly, built confidence over time, not trying to get to the top straight away, but just like chipping away at it, slowly letting the belief just kind of like come through, and then hit another milestone while keeping your feet on the ground is really, really impressive. And it's just testament for you to just keep on going and staying consistent with it. And the results have come your way, and you've been rewarded for that process. And you absolutely deserve that wild card just from everything that I've been hearing and your journey. And we just wish you nothing but the best, man, because you've had a sick journey. And there's no reason why you can't take it a lot further and reach that top 100. And then once you're in that top 100, there's just a whole bunch of doors that can open and new opportunities that can come your way. So really appreciate you coming down for the chat, and very grateful to meet you today.
Yep. Thanks for having me on. Thank you.
Cheers.